This is the VOA Special English Technology Report. 10 or 15 years ago, online dating was too new to be socially acceptable. Now many people search for a partner online. Online dating is different from traditional dating, where two people learn about each other in person. With online dating, people learn a lot about a possible partner before even meeting them. We spoke with Mario, who had recently moved to the city of Baltimore, Maryland. His friends paid for him to use an online dating site. He thought he knew just what he was looking for. Someone who was not American, not a scientist, or Latin. He found someone the complete opposite. Opposites attract is a popular saying. But online dating companies do not think so. They say the more alike two people are, the more likely they are to have a relationship that lasts. One of the largest online dating sites is eHarmony. It asks people to first answer more than 400 questions. A secret mathematical algorithm then uses the answers to match people. An algorithm is a step-by-step process for solving a problem. Gian Gonzaga is the Director of Research and Development at eHarmony. He told us two people do not have to be similar in everything. It is only those things that are most important to them. Macon Fardis is a clinical psychologist who works with couples. He does not believe in using mathematical algorithms to match people. He notes that only 7% of people tell the truth when describing themselves. He says even if we do not decide to lie or mislead, the way we see ourselves is different from who we really are. He says there are many examples of couples that seem like they would be compatible, but are not when they meet. Remember Mario? A woman named Tamara was his online match. She had some worries about online dating, but she kept an open mind. She told us, you just meet a lot of people you would not meet normally. And if you didn't have a connection, you move on. At first, Mario worried that Tamara was too similar to him, but he suggested they meet for coffee. He told us she ordered a drink, then another drink. Then she said, let's order something to eat. Tamara added, it was very natural. We talked, and it was 5 hours later that we had dinner. That was a year ago. Last month, they got married. For VOA Special English, I'm Laurel Bowman.
This is the VOA Special English Technology Report. Students from Arizona State University won top honors this spring at the Imagine Cup Finals in the United States. Microsoft Corporation organizes the competition every year. The Imagine Cup asks students to use their imaginations and their love of technology to solve some of the world's biggest problems. More than 100,000 students in the United States alone registered for the event this year. 22 teams were chosen to take part in the finals in Seattle, Washington. Team Flash Food won first place in the Imagine Cup's software design competition. The team developed a computer software application and website to help speed food donations from restaurants, hotels, and farmers markets to needy families. Eric Lenhart is the leader of Team Flash Food. He says food insecurity affects a lot of people, especially in large population centers. He notes that some people do not know where their next meal is coming from. His team's winning mobile application and website is designed for operators of restaurants. They can enter information about the food they would like to donate. Then, volunteer drivers go to pick up the donations and take them to those in need. Richard Philly is director of the Engineering Projects in Community Service program at Arizona State. Team Flash Food is one of the program's 37 projects. Richard Philly says winning the Imagine Cups software design category is a major honor. But, he says, it is not what energizes his students. He says they want to change the world and make a difference. Microsoft is celebrating the 10th year of the Imagine Cup. Mark Hinsbo is a vice president with the company. He says the competition has changed a lot since it first began. Years ago, it mainly involved computer science, and almost all of the students had a computer science education. Mark Hinsbo says the students who compete now have different areas of expertise. For example, Team Flash Food had a student who studied biomedical engineering. Another student studied marketing and sustainability. Yet another studied material science and engineering. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal. You can find more stories about the Imagine Cup at voaspecialenglish.com.
This is the VOA Special English Technology Report. You could fill the sky with all the ideas people have had for flying cars. But at this point, the transition is the closest to actually getting to the marketplace. So says Carl Dietrich, head of Terrafugia. His company in Massachusetts is developing the transition roadable aircraft. Mr. Dietrich says the transition is designed to really be a general aviation airplane, like a Cessna or a Piper, a propeller-powered airplane that can fold up its wings, drive down the road, and park in a single-car garage. And he says the transition easily changes to a car in about 20 seconds. The driver folds up the wings and transfers power from a propeller to the wheels for driving on the ground. Development began in 2006, and the first road and flight tests took place in 2009. The transition had to meet federal safety standards for cars and aircraft. Last year, the Federal Aviation Administration agreed to let it weigh more than other light sport aircraft. But even fully loaded, says Mr. Dietrich, it still weighs about half as much as an average car. The windows, for example, weigh less than traditional automotive safety glass. Terrafugia got permission for that in June from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Carl Dietrich says the aircraft can climb to more than 3,000 meters. It can carry 2 people at speeds over 160 kilometers an hour in the air. And on the ground, it can drive at highway speeds, around 113 kilometers an hour. The plane needs an airport for takeoffs and landings, and pilot training for the driver. But it uses automotive gasoline. The company expects to complete the building process for its flying cars within the next few months. Then it will begin an intensive year-long testing program. Terrafugia expects the transition to reach market by the end of 2012 at a price of around $250,000. Carl Dietrich says nearly 100 people have already signed up as buyers. He hopes to sell as many as 1,000 a year in the near future. He says that will not have any appreciable or noticeable impact on the air traffic control infrastructure in the foreseeable future today. Now, 20 years down the road, who knows? For VOA Special English, I'm Carolyn Presutti. For more technology stories and activities for people learning English, go to VOA Special English. I'm Carolyn Presutti with the VOA Special English Technology Report. A new survey finds that more than 80% of Internet users in the United States search for health information online. The survey is from the Pew Research Center's Internet and American Life Project and the California Healthcare Foundation. Susanna Fox from the Pew Internet Project says doctors are still the main source of health information. But the survey found that searching online is one of the leading ways that people look for a second opinion. She said people are fact-checking what they have heard from a doctor. However, people are still very likely to turn to a health professional when they are planning a treatment. 44% of people are actually looking for doctors or other providers when they search for health information online. Another finding of the survey, 2/3 of Internet users look online for information about a specific disease or medical condition. The Internet has also become an important source of emotional support for people with health problems. Susanna Fox says 1 in 5 Internet users has gone online to find other people who have the same condition. She said even more people with serious or rare diseases go online to find other people who share their health concerns. A disease is considered rare if it affects fewer than 200,000 people worldwide. The rise of social networking has made it easier for people with rare diseases to connect with each other and feel less alone. Social networking is also changing the way some doctors and patients communicate with each other. Dr. Jeff Livingston operates a medical center for women in Irving, Texas. His office uses password-protected software to share information with patients. He says they provide patients full access to their medical care. Dr. Livingston says the software has increased efficiency, reduced costs, and improved relations with patients. He says It has just revolutionized the way we do healthcare. His medical center also has a Facebook page, a MySpace page, and a Twitter feed. For VOA Special English, I'm Carolyn Presutti. We would like to hear your stories about going online to search for health information. There's a lot of information out there. How do you know if you can trust what you find? You can also post your comments on our website, voaspecialenglish.com.
This is the VOA Special English Development Report. The name sounds funny, but the idea is no joke. A personal toilet called the pee-poo. Anders Wilhelmsson is the Swedish inventor of the idea. He wants to give poor people in developing countries a simple way to improve their lives. The toilet is a single-use bag made of environmentally friendly plastics. The inside is treated with urea, a chemical commonly used as fertilizer. A natural reaction kills harmful organisms in the waste. It reduces the waste to fertilizer that Anders Wilhelmsson says is safe for growing food. The hotter the weather, the more quickly the waste breaks down into ammonia to be taken up by plants. Anders Wilhelmsson says the sanitation process can take as little as a couple of hours or as long as 2 to 4 weeks. He is an architect and a professor at Sweden's Royal Institute of Technology. He became interested in the idea of sanitation after taking part in a research project on the social and political development of cities. One of the most common complaints he heard in developing countries was the lack of toilets. He worked with others to design the invention. He launched the project in 2005 and the next year started a company called Pee-Poople. The company is beginning production in Nairobi. It expects to start selling the bags in August in Kenya and Bangladesh. Full production could reach about 500,000 bags a day. Pee-Poople plans to sell the bags for 2 to 3 cents each. Anders Wilhelmsson says people can get back 10 times what they paid by using the resulting fertilizer to grow vegetable gardens. The United Nations says more than 2.5 billion people around the world do not have good sanitation. Many have no choice but to use the outdoors. Poor sanitation leads to infectious diseases that kill more than 1.5 million people a year, mostly young children. Jack Sim is the founder of the World Toilet Organization, a nonprofit group working to improve conditions. He says the sanitation marketplace and inventions like this one are the best way to help people meet a most basic need. And that's the VOA Special English Development Report. You can find transcripts and MP3s of our programs at voaspecialenglish.com. You can also add your comments.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Technology Report in Special English. Once again, consumer electronics topped the list of the most wanted gifts during the holiday season. Steve Koenig is with the Consumer Electronics Association. He says the group's latest research suggests that Americans increased their spending on technology products this year. Tablet computers were one of the best-selling products. Brian Tong is senior editor of CNET.com. The website reports on technology news and examines the latest electronic products. He says the Apple iPad Mini has been one of the most popular tablets. Prices for it start at $329. One of Apple's biggest competitors is the Google Nexus 7. Its prices start at $199. Brian Tong says the Nexus 7 has more powerful hardware than the iPad Mini, and it uses Google Maps. But there is one reason why people may like the Apple product more than the Nexus 7. The iPad still has the largest group of high-quality apps. Alman Chacon is with the electronics store Best Buy. He says smart cameras are also popular. They connect to the internet through Wi-Fi. This makes it easy for users to email or upload photographs directly from the camera. Streaming media boxes also connect to the internet. With the growing popularity of internet shopping, many consumers will visit a store first to look at a product and then go online to find it at a lower price. Many stores understand that. So, to keep customers, some stores offer to match lower prices that their customers find in other places within 30 days. For VOA Learning English, I'm Laurel.
This is the VOA Special English Technology Report. America's video game industry was the winner in a decision by the United States Supreme Court. In late June, the justices rejected a law in California that banned the sale or rental of violent video games to people under 18. They said the 2005 law violated the free speech guarantee in the First Amendment to the Constitution. The vote was 7-2. The court decided that video games are a protected form of creative expression, like books, plays, and movies. Paul McGrail, Dean of the University of Dayton Law School in Ohio, says California did not see gaming that way. The state of California tried to argue that this was not speech. It was more of an activity because children interact and play with the video games, and so it's not traditional speech like a book or like a magazine. California lawmakers argued that violent games are especially harmful to children. But the court said they were no more harmful than the violence in other forms of media. Justice Antonin Scalia wrote the majority opinion. He pointed to the violence in fairy tales, like Snow White and Cinderella, and in cartoons. Professor McGrail says the court sees its job as only to decide what is and is not legally protected speech. We don't want to get the Supreme Court into making fine distinctions about what is better than others, because that will lead us down a slippery slope. Once you start deciding that, what's to stop the government from saying that, for example, Grimm's fairy tales themselves are too violent, or that particular books should be banned? In fact, from 1915 to 1952, the Supreme Court permitted censorship of movies for fear they could be used for evil. Today, the film and music industries have voluntary rating systems, and so does the video game industry. For example, extremely violent games are rated M for mature. These are meant for ages 17 and older. Only 5% of the more than 1,600 games rated last year were rated M. Still, Abby Holleran, a manager at a GameStop store in Maryland, says M-rated games like Call of Duty, Halo, and Fallout are the most popular games in the store. She says parents have to give their permission for children to buy M-rated games. But the majority of the time, when we tell them what's in it, they don't. For VOA Special English, I'm Mario Ritter.
This is the VOA Special English Development Report. Living in Emergency, Stories of Doctors Without Borders is a documentary film by director Mark Hopkins. It tells the story of 4 doctors and their volunteer work in Liberia and the Democratic Republic of Congo. The award-winning film was first shown at the 2008 Venice Film Festival. It opened in the United States in June. Doctors Without Borders is a humanitarian organization, also known by its French name, Médecins Sans Frontières. It handles emergencies caused by war, infectious disease, and natural disasters. The group says this was the first time it gave a documentary crew unrestricted access to its field operations. Mr. Hopkins and his crew filmed the doctors working under some of the most extreme and dangerous conditions imaginable. The director says Living in Emergency is a story about how things are, not how you wish things were. Dr. Tom Kruger, from the United States, volunteered in Liberia in 2003 after 2 civil wars. He said, "It was pretty much a shock when I got here. You can't describe the smells, the feeling of the heat on your body, and the sweat running down your back. The smell of the pus that hits your nose, and of unwashed bodies in a closed room." Another doctor in the film, Australian Chris Brashear, has been with Doctors Without Borders for 9 years. He has served in the Democratic Republic of Congo and spent time in Liberia. He described some of the conditions he faced: no water, no electricity, no food. Doctors Without Borders was established in 1971 by doctors and journalists in France. Today, the group provides humanitarian medical aid in nearly 60 countries. On an average day, almost 27,000 doctors, nurses, and others work in teams of local and foreign aid workers. Dr. Chiara Lapora from Italy also appears in the film. She spent several years working with the group and told VOA's Penelope Palou that she will probably return. She said, "There are a lot of doctors who are willing to volunteer once, but not many doctors who are willing to repeat their experience. Doctors Without Borders has organizations in 19 countries, including the United States. 90% of its money comes from private sources. In 1999, the group received the Nobel Peace Prize. And that's the VOA Special English Development Report.